Oh, okay. I thought you were Catholic, my bad.
Why? I literally just joined.
Mm,
Do I have like that Catholic aura?
I guess.
Yeah, can you explain how nuns aren't like a terrible practice that is like degenerate societally?
You want me to steel man your position?
Not sure what that means.
You want me to try to represent your claim about like nuns? Is that what you want me to do? Or do you want
Well, I
to
mean, it just seems like a very backwards practice. Like what you're taking the best God-fearing woman in society and then like making
how
it
do
so
you
they
know
can't
that
have
they're the
kids
best God-fearing woman in society?
because they like decided to marry God.
So you're just presupposing then that just because someone is a nun that they're automatically holy?
I'd say if you have that inclination, then on average you're better than the, the average of the population. Yeah.
So holiness is something that's quantifiable then.
I would say, well, we're talking about materially.
Right. So
Someone,
you have an epistemological theory then? Then how we can know the material holiness of a nun? Is that correct?
not spiritually, but materially, yeah.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Well, if you practice the word of God, um, you're more likely to be a better person
And
by
why is that?
material standards.
By
Like,
material standards.
yeah,
So then what's the criterion? So I'm asking for the epistemology, I'm not asking for qualifications.
yeah, like they're more conscientious. You know, they're less likely to be wrapped up in like bad
Conscientious,
practices like drug use and such.
behavioral, okay.
Yeah, behavioral.
What else?
Um, they're probably specifically in the thing of getting birth. They're probably more. They are on average more wise because the Bible teaches eternal truths that
Are
are
you
representative.
maintaining that wisdom is a physical property?
It's a property of the mind, which is material.
Okay, what's your epistemology for the mind as immaterial? I mean, excuse me, mind is matter, sorry.
I can touch it.
You're talking about the brain?
Yeah.
So for you, the mind, the metaphysical notion or the concept of the mind is just the brain.
It's okay. I'm gonna
That's
say
where it
this very
gets pretty hairy,
carefully.
as you will, even
I
epistemologically.
can say it in a sentence. Just
Okay.
the mind. I'm sorry. The brain is a representation of the mind, as in like it's like the writing, the ones and zeros of a hard drive on a computer, but the soul is the power source that
So
actually
you
makes it do
ascribe to the
something.
simulation theory
I don't
of the
know.
universe?
I don't think I do.
Hmm?
I don't think I do. No.
I mean that's kind of,
I just work in IT, so that's like the examples that I give because I'm
okay.
not a
So
philosopher.
is when you refer to the mind as a brain, brain is a metaphor for the mind or
Well,
an
like
analogy?
like
Or are
if
you
you
literally saying that our minds are just the brain chemistry, like the neurochemistry that's happening?
our minds are a
Excuse me.
phenomena that is expressed materially with the brain, but also is powered by the soul, which gives us consciousness.
Interesting. So then how do you go from material things to non-materiality, like the soul? It's a conundrum, right? So now you have to account for, in your epistemological worldview, which is materialistic one, how do you go from composite to non-composite being?
I don't think I have a material worldview, but I'm kind of confused about the question. How do you
But
go from
isn't that
material to
what you claimed
spiritual?
at the start of the conversation?
I was talking from a material framework because we're talking about society, and obviously, someone's
Right, and you
relationship
said
with
that you
God
were a
doesn't.
materialist, right? So you said when it
No,
came to evaluating, right, what the value of nuns are and how to determine their holiness, you believe that it can be done materially. So then I
I
asked you,
rescinded that point
so,
early on in the conversation.
oh, okay, okay, so you want to walk that back. It's
Yeah,
fine if you do. Okay, all right, that's fair.
let me try. Let me just re-say my main point. So I, from what I see, the practice of nuns is bad for society, and if this mindset is expressed in other means in the Catholic Church, then the Catholicism is bad for society
Okay,
because having children, not only is it good for wise people to have children, but I think that you're robbing people, especially you're robbing women of a pretty necessary process in life.
okay.
There was one person who was a Catholic who gave me a response to this that explains some things. It's probably the best reasoning to defend the Catholic Church. He told me that women who became nuns back in the day were like women, to put it as nice as I can, really aren't wife material, and that this current phenomena of best women becoming nuns is a modern phenomenon. That's not actually how it's supposed to be practiced, but that's still a problem that I see in the modern day Catholic Church.
Yeah, that seems kind of like a pretty interesting sociological theory. It's very hard to generalize when it comes to like anthropological practices of human beings or human cultures, right? Because we're
Hmm.
actually making a, you know, judgment on somebody's culture, right? When we start
Hmm.
trying to quantify or measure, right? Like the quote unquote good of a particular practice, wouldn't you say?
Hmm.
So I think the best hypothesis are going to try to establish some sort of criterion of being able to verify um, what it's trying to claim about the world in the formation of the hypothesis. So that's kind of like where for me I'm more interested in like okay, well, what are the things that you're assuming as part of your theory, to establish what you think that we can know about these particular groups of people or their cultural practices.
Hmm.
Because if you want to, as you were claiming before, and I guess you've walked it back now, is you wanted to claim that, well, based on the material benefit that you get from having this kind of cultural practices, to you it seems like a net negative, right? In terms of benefits, but that's assuming that we're looking at it from like a materialistic lens, right? Like, what do they have
Hmm.
to offer?
But I think it's still important, though it's not the highest goal. It's still a requirement.
What's important?
Material, thriving materially
Okay. I mean,
as a
I don't think
culture.
people are gonna disagree with you that that's important. You know what I mean?
I think there's a few people, Buddhists would probably disagree with me heavily.
Yeah, I mean, but no one has ever taken Buddhism very seriously.
I think in antiquity which is why no one takes it seriously now. Because all the ones who did, their
Actually,
practice
no.
died with them. The
Chinese,
Tibetans are never a good example.
yeah, but that's the thing. No one has ever taken the Tibetans seriously.
It's funny.
It's a Western phenomenon of like white people who try to culturally appropriate Eastern practices. It's
Yeah.
made it popular for in
I,
pop culture
I
especially.
mean, I
But
agree, but like,
in
I
the
mean,
Chinese context, like no one ever took Buddhists seriously because China was predominantly Confucian in their philosophy and not Buddhist.
well, I mean, China is like a pretty big area. I think the Tibetans took it seriously for a very long time.
I mean, yeah, but if you're arguing for like that it could only be, I mean, according to like your theses, right? Um, it would depend on like the popular acceptance of Buddhism, right?
Hmm.
Not just the fact that you have a group of people that have a tradition of it, and so therefore they're taking it seriously.
Well, I can say the same thing about you in 500 years.
Okay, yeah, you're fair to make those assumptions. But we can all agree that at least right now that's not true. So,
Yeah, but I can show you that you are going to that same trajectory because, like I
sure.
said,
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't disclaim you on that. I mean, as it still stands, there's like what, 2 point some billion Christians in the world or something?
so
1
you
point
do.
some
So I'm
billion.
sorry, but you're
Go ahead.
contradicting yourself because you
How
do
am I contradicting myself?
you said earlier. I said, well, materially thriving is like a good thing, and
Hmm.
and you're like, well, everyone said that, and then I say, well, what about Buddhists? And you say, well, no one takes them seriously. But the thing
Hmm.
is, because your philosophy isn't materially thriving, you don't seem to take it seriously because that's what's going to happen to you. Your
What?
religion.
I don't
If you
think your argument I
practice,
don't think your argument makes sense.
I'll try to say it again, but less running about it. So I said that materially thriving is good, and you said yes, and you said, well, I don't think anyone would disagree with that, and I said, well,
Yeah, that's
Buddhists.
one way of looking at it. If you want
Mhm.
to if that's your fundamental assumption, right? So then you have to provide if you want to go back to saying like you can determine like the utility, right, or the benefit of a particular cultural practice materially, then now you're going to have to provide the criteria.
Survival
Survival, okay. Doesn't
and
seem like
equalities that
you've
go
like
into
thought
it.
this it doesn't seem like you've thought this through very well.
Okay, it's not an argument. You got anything else?
I'm asking you like, okay, what's your criterion? So you said survival.
Yeah, I'd say surviving is a
Okay,
pretty
so
good criteria for
is that it?
materially
Is it
thriving.
just it's just okay, surviving and materially thriving. How
That's the
since
number one way to quantify it, the
right,
easiest
okay,
way for this
number one,
conversation.
okay, all right. Well, I'll just take your word on that. But so then what's your yeah, so what's your do you have like a mathematical formula for determining this?
No,
Do you have any graphs or stats?
nope.
So we don't have any shared reference.
I'm pretty sure pretty basic deduction can prove that what I'm saying is true. Materially thriving.
Okay, I mean,
If you're not
right, but you're just
alive
assuming that.
materially, then that's probably a pretty good metric, if not the ultimate
So
metric for
right.
materially
So but
thriving.
that's the thing. So scientific theses are built on deduction, right?
Hmm.
And what you're saying is that you don't have an argument right now, but you can assume that it's scientific to assume so. But hey, guess what? I don't have any data and
I didn't assume it. I
I don't
used it
have
via
any
logic.
corresponding
The
references to
definition.
share.
I use
So
it via logic.
right. So it begs the question, do you actually have an argument?
I just gave you one.
Or are you just making intuitive claims at this point?
Want me to repeat my argument?
So are you familiar that induction is not the same thing as deduction?
Yep.
Okay. So we agree on your inductive premise. So what's your deduction? Because remember, you're the one that's making the claim.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not making any claim actually. I'm just
Okay, so
explaining
okay, so you
definitions.
don't
I'm
have
explaining
an argument. So you don't
definitions.
have a dar okay.
My
So you don't
original
have an argument
argument
anymore.
is my main argument. I'm merely trying to describe words to you
Yeah, but
essentially.
a description doesn't have explanatory power.
All right, I'll explain it to you logically. Maturely thriving, survival is a good metric of maturely thriving because if you're not alive, then you're not maturely thriving
Right.
by
So if it's a
definition.
metric, then can you
Done.
show me some
Period.
if it's
Done.
a measurement,
It's
or
not a
excuse me, if it's a
measurement. It's a
if it's
binary
hold on.
attribute. It's not a
It's not a
measurement. It
binary.
is not a measurement. It's a
If
binary
it's
attribute.
if it's a metric, then show me some
Hey,
measurements.
Liptard, I said it's not a metric. Okay, you want me to repeat myself?
You said it was a metric. By the way, I'm recording the conversation, so
All right, cool.
I'm gonna post it too because this is a funny
What's up,
conversation.
Liptards? Why are you so mad, bro?
I'm not
Can't
mad at
take
all. Dude,
living
you're
as a
freaking out,
material
man.
thriving
You're
definition.
spiraling and you're freaking out.
I'm talking to a libtard who thinks that survival isn't the main metric. I'm sorry, the
I'm a
main.
libtard.
Yes,
Okay.
survival is not the number one way to prove materially thriving. Prove if someone's materially thriving.
So wait a second.
Yeah,
You're saying survival is not the number one way when
I'm saying
just
that's what you
before.
think.
No, but you literally on the record you were claiming that survival is the number one metric, and I was like, okay, we'll take that. You know,
Yeah, it's
I'm just taking that for
semantics.
granted. It's
It's not
just
a metric because
semantics
it's
now.
not a scale. Like it's not a scale. Like
Yeah, but you're the one that's claiming that it's a materialist assumption. And so then when I ask you, what do you mean by that? And
I
you're just
didn't
like,
claim it
well,
was an assumption. You put
survival
those
would
words
be a
in my
number
mouth.
one. No, you did. I mean, the recording will probably go up tonight, so you can
It's
review
not
it.
an
I can send it to you
assumption.
if you want.
Okay, I said something wrong. It's not an assumption.
So you misspoke. I mean, if
Yeah.
you misspoke. That's fine. It's okay to be wrong, you know.
Here's what I'm gonna do at Abysmal. I'm gonna go to a graveyard and I'm gonna dig a bunch of corpses up and I'm gonna say, "Hey, are you maturely thriving?" And I'll write it down and I'll put a cute little graph for you, and we'll see what the science shows. Okay, buddy? We'll see if they're materially thriving.
Have you been watching like the new season of Dexter or something like that?
I think the maggots are definitely thriving in their corpses, bro. But I'm not sure if they are. Liptard.
Well, thank you for the interesting conversation.
Yeah, fuck you.
You're freaking out.
Libtard say what?
Are you Gen Z?
Um, Depending on, I've seen a few different definitions of what Gen Z is, but I'm definitely on the cusp between Gen Z and millennial.
Are you under 30?
Yeah,
Are you under 25?
no,
No.
yeah, no. Why
I
don't you
would
just
tech
ask what my age is? Like,
I would technically consider you probably Zoomers, so you're like the first wave boomers. So the better way to put this would basically be like, I mean, like another way we can try to be more critical about it is Do you mind if I ask like what age range your parents are in? Are they between 50 to 60? Or are they between 60 to
Yeah,
70? 50 to 60.
yeah.
Yeah, you would be considered a Zoomer.
So I'm like the
The
king of
reason
Zoomers.
is your parents are Generation X.
Okay.
Yeah, which means that you're a Zoomer. The
Is that
thing
actually how it's
is
defined?
I I I I feel
I
like
mean, I know there's not a standard, but like I never
I
heard it described that way.
I feel like Zoomers and millennials are more alike because we're disenfranchised in very similar ways,
Mm,
but it happened through two different generations, right? And you're literally the second generation to kind of go through, what we millennials have been. And
yeah.
the thing is I hold it against Zoomers less than I do their parents. Your parents fucked us up. You know what I mean? And their parents
Hmm.
fucked it up. Your parents were Generation X. You know what I mean? These were the 90s kids.
Yeah,
Um, this is the MTV generation. Empty head generation.
for sure.
So, yeah, you're jaded, but it's your parents' fault.
Took a while for you to get to that last conclusion.
Hmm?
Oh shit, boys. What's cracking?
I'm basically owning this libtard of facts and logic.
Facts and what
Interesting.
are you talking about? The economy?
No.
We're talking about we're talking about how he thinks that if someone's dead, they can possibly be materially thriving. And I said that no, if you're dead, by definition, you can't be materially thriving because you're dead.
Gotcha.
You don't exist materially. And he basically
Only
like
on Discord would you ever have such a disagreement.
yeah, then he told me that he was recording me and that he was gonna like show me to his friends and like they were gonna laugh at me. So I'm not really
No,
sure
I
Wow.
what
didn't
that's
say
about.
that. You're
How
mischaracterizing.
humiliating. Well, that's God
Yo,
forbid
so
that happen.
Alex, would you like to hear the recording?
Not really.
Okay.
No offense. If I found the subject interesting enough, then I would, but
Man, I love your voice and profile combo.
oh, thanks. Yeah, a lot of people comment on it. I try to detract the attention elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I feel like I'm like meeting someone called Aaron and I call him Aaron.
No, it's alright. Don't worry about it. I was taking myself too seriously this entire day.
Mm.
And that's a really big mistake because there's nothing worse than taking yourself too seriously. So I smoked, and now I feel a lot better.
Weed.
You know, it humbles me really fast. You know, reminds me I'm a human being.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like, whoa, bro, let's relax. That's not what it does to me. What it does to me is it forces me to reflect upon the things that I'm running from subconsciously. You know,
I see.
it's like a rational sense of self awareness, right? So
I
like
can kind of relate.
when you're normally self-conscious, most of the things that you're thinking about are insecurities, which are, I mean, by virtue, pretty retarded.
Mm.
But on weed, it kind of isolates the imperative changes you need to make to your life, like your mindset. I think your mindset comes before anything, you know?
Mhm.
I think we have to have so much exposure in our everyday life as a modern society that it's very easy to get lost in the sauce.
For sure.
Like, how do you know who you are if everything makes you respond and react differently? All right. Well, good talk.